nutrition. So I actually ended up in nutrition not by this elaborate plan that I had had since I was young. I kind of stumbled into it. And I think that's the story that a lot of people have. I actually really wanted to be in the medical field. I wanted to be a team doctor. I played a lot of sports when I was younger. And so I went to Pepperdine University specifically because they had a sports medicine program. And once I got in there was a sports nutrition class my sophomore year. And I fell in love with the nutrition aspect of looking at medicine and healthcare. So I learned that you could actually do nutrition as a whole career field, which I had no idea that dietitians or nutritionists even existed as a career. So I kind of ended up there and realized that my passions had changed. So I switched over from sports medicine into the nutrition field, and the rest is history. So yeah, genetics is interesting. It's such a fascinating field. I first dabbled in genetics when I worked as a medical assistant in high school in this high-risk OB office, so this perinatology office, and I was introduced to genetic counselors for the first time. And so I really got to see it from a prenatal perspective, and they were sitting there looking at inherited traits and inherited risks, and so to the baby. And so that's kind of where this fascination between, oh my gosh, you can actually pinpoint and go back into your lineage and see your chance and your risk of various different things. So I actually thought about maybe pursuing genetics, maybe getting my master's in genetics, or maybe becoming a genetic counselor when I was in high school. But it really came together with me with my plan for healthcare and nutrition and medical field when genetic alteration of food started becoming a thing. And I had to do some studies and some work around genetically modified organisms. And then the Human Genome Project completed. And when that happened, all of a sudden healthcare took off, and we had a lot of answers to things that previously we never had. And so the technology sped up. And so now you can pair all of the stuff we knew about genetics before, but you can pair it with preventative healthcare, which I think is incredible and amazing. And so my two loves, nutrition and genetics, finally fused together. In the end, I just had to wait for it. I was a little ahead of the timing, but now it's such an amazing field to be a part of and to see grow. And I think there's going to be more and more practitioners that get into this field because it's so cutting edge and so takes away all that trial and error piece that we often deal with in medicine. I think anyone could benefit from looking at their genetics from a preventative point of view. I think in preventative healthcare, we have to use what we know and make our best guess. And I think that's really how a lot of medicine works too. But with genetics, even something like weight loss, there's so many avenues that you can take. You can play around with the macronutrient content. You can play around with calories. You can play around with boosting certain things, taking certain supplements. But that's a lot of time, a lot of trial and error and effort. And there's a lot of burnout for clients going down these paths. So looking at your genetics basically gives me as a provider a total roadmap and allows us to skip over all of that trial and error. So I can see if you have a benefit to doing a low carb diet. So should we really be cutting down your carbs, or is that not going to have much benefit for you for weight loss? Same thing with supplements. People take so many supplements and pills, and I think it's gotten outrageous. Let's streamline all the supplements. Let me see where we can take your genetic variants and say, okay, you really do need support in these areas outside of food, or let's boost your meal plan. I think we can get the supplements under control. So looking at your genetics would help with that. And then also risk for health stuff. A lot of times we know we have cardiovascular disease in our family, or dementia, early cognitive decline, but now we can actually pinpoint the genes involved with that, and we can really take the areas that need a lot of preventative health focus and effort and our time and thought, and we can kind of direct where we spend that time and that effort for prevention for someone. So I think it's a no-brainer. I think everybody should look at their genetics, but that's just me. Do I eat super healthy? My husband would laugh right now. I eat the most balanced diet probably you could ever think of. You will catch me eating kale and drinking kombucha, and you will also catch me eating pizza and drinking a beer. I think my training in disordered eating really helped bring me into this need for balance in life, and especially with food. Food is amazing and it's enjoyable and it should be so joyful. So I think it's funny when people think dietitians eat like rabbits. I mean, I'm sure there's some that do, but I am very balanced. I like all the colorful fruits and vegetables. I love broccoli, I love kale, I love all that good stuff. But I also really love to indulge every once in a while too. But I'm much more of a savory versus a sweet person. I am super proud of Crave Health and the practice that it's become. It started as a solo nutrition practice just with me, and it's grown into this amazing integrative health practice. And what makes it different is that we all collaborate on every case. We're around each other, we talk constantly. We have registered dietitian nutritionists and licensed mental health counselors. And so that dynamic is really interesting, and I think something that is missing in a lot of medical practices. They don't include the mental health, the emotional health, the spiritual health piece. And so I think the fact that that's just naturally brought into everything that we do really separates us. And we're super different in what we're trained in too. So we have all these different specialty areas, and we use all of our background to come together and treat each person individually. And so I'm just super proud of what we've built here and how we've become this really collaborative practice. So functional medicine is a concept that I think it took a while to find the right word to describe what a lot of practitioners out there are already doing. I think it used to be maybe holistic, integrative, natural medicine. All of these words kind of were trying to describe what we now call functional medicine. And that's basically looking at the whole person, taking into account each client's full story, their background, their labs, their goals, their genes, all these different things. You're looking at a whole picture, a whole person, and you're really trying to find the root cause for if they are in a disease state or ill or not feeling right. Let's look and go to the why, behind the why, and let's fix the root problem versus just treating the symptoms. And so that concept of functional medicine is something that's like, oh my gosh, that's what I want my doctor or my dietitian to practice. But now we just have it branded really well. So at Crave Health, we practice functional medicine or functional nutrition. And there's a lot of great providers out in the world now that also practice functional medicine. Oh, salt, tortilla chips, salt, anything with salt. Anything with like beets and goat cheese together, automatic order on a menu. When people tell me how I've impacted them in some way, positives, I'm a verbal affirmations person. So anytime someone gives me some oral verbal feedback about something positive, I feel so empowered. I think something having to do with my two daughters. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old daughter, and they're hysterical. I mean, like, I think it was just last week, and she was messing something with our dog. And anyway, yes, my husband and I were almost close to peeing our pants laughing at my kids.